questions succinct. If you have a preface, I will not be reading those. Okay, I will go straight to questions. Okay? Questions directed at one candidate, not across all three, will be held to the end. Okay, question cards are then given to Jane Andrews from League and Rod Matthews from our host, and they will be screening through the questions. They organize them into categories of similar topics to avoid repetition, and they also make sure that the questions that we have the greatest interest in from the room are the ones that get asked. Questions that are not appropriate for this branch of government will not be asked. Okay? Not a lot of foreign policy going on in this council. Okay? In addition to asking excellent questions, you have some other responsibilities. Please hold all applause until the forum is finished. 2 reasons. It allows us to ask more questions and keep things moving. And since this candidate forum is designed to provide a nonpartisan setting for undecided voters to hear all positions, any demonstration of support or opposition, such as clapping or booing, to the candidates or the positions is considered out of order. Unheeded warnings may result in us just stopping the forum. Okay, that's fine. I'm playing along here. Okay, so now we're ready to begin. And now for their opening statements, we will begin with candidate Dang. You have a minute.
Well, thank you very much, Vicki. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. I appreciate what you guys do as an organization to promote candidate forums across the entire nation. And my name is John Bidak, born and raised here in San Diego.
Move behind the mic. Turn down.
Hello. Johnny Bidak, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the generous invitation to be here today. It's an honor to be running for San Diego City Council. I was born and raised in the city. My family, we own pizza stores in the city. You guys have heard of Rosario's Pizza. My father started that chain in the city many years ago. Over time, we had several different stores across the entire city, but I basically grew up making pizza. I eventually graduated from college at San Diego State University, went to grad school in the Bay Area, and after that, I got involved in politics. We have a lot of time to get to know each other today, but I'm here to really learn about your needs as a community, and I'm here to tell you about me. So feel free to ask me anything. Thank you.
Our second is candidate Abraham.
So,
Just talk loud.
Talk loud.
I don't know. Hold it down low.
Get in front of the mic. You guys have to get in front of the mic. There's a lot of feedback. Get in front of that mic right there. That'll take away the feedback from the static.
is this better? Yeah. There we go. Sorry, I'm gonna sit, that's okay. So, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about this process is being able to meet community members and hear all the stories. And the thing that continues to come up is the Honorable George Stevens. And a story that one of my neighbors told me was apparently trash collection was not routine in our neighborhood. And one day he was picking up trash in our community, and then when he got to City Hall, he dumped that trash on the person's desk that was responsible for picking up the trash in our neighborhood. That is an example of George holding a system accountable to providing us with the same services and resources that are provided all across our city. And one thing that we have been missing is an advocate. We are worthy of being represented, being listened to, being heard. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it sounds like I might go out. And we are worthy of having resources, investment in our communities. And so that is why I'm here today, because I am asking to be your advocate. My name is Martha H.
I think you're good.
Next is candidate
You can sit
Foster.
back. You can sit at the chair.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Henry Foster III. Currently the incumbent serving in the 4th District and here as a candidate. It is such a pleasure and honor to be here. I made my way to City Council by way of a special election. I just reached 2 years in office on April 8th. So I am so honored and pleased to be before you again. If you don't know, and I just want everyone to understand that, my first term is a short term because I want it to be a special election. So 2026, the term that we are here to discuss today, this will be my second and final term. So I just want everyone to know that what's at stake. Also, just a little bit about me, hopefully, my story, you're not unfamiliar with my story, but I'm born and raised here in District 4. Not in the city of San Diego, born and raised right here in this district. Currently live in Valencia Park, right next door to the home that my grandparents owned. My grandparents were one of the first African-American families to move into Valencia Park. You're familiar with redlining and what took place back in the 50s and so forth. We were only allowed to live in certain areas within the community. That's back down in the game and some portions of the 9. Went to Lincoln High School, graduated Lincoln High School, went on to Hampton University, where I must say I met my beautiful wife, Nancy Foster, and a proud father of 2 kids, both at Hampton University. I'm here again to ask for your support to continue the work that I started. I have about 12 years of experience in the city of San Diego. I'm the only candidate that has policy experience, that wrote legislation, that got legislation passed, and I'm here to keep doing the same, to be an advocate, to fight for District 4, and to continue bringing investment into our community. So again, vote Henry Foster III.
Okay. That's fine. Please do not applaud or boo any of this. We'll have to find at the end, okay? And more importantly, if somebody lost this lovely pair of glasses, I'm gonna leave them right here. Do I see a hand? Anybody? I'm gonna leave them right down here. Okay, so now we're gonna go into questions. The first question we're jumping right in is, what do you think is the most important issue for District 4? And we're gonna start with candidate Abraham.
Oh, y'all wanna get disrespectful?
You guys hear me? Yeah, you can. So, what I've learned from advocating for our community is that, the issue all stems from First Medicine and Nessie. And so, if we don't have effective leadership, we are not gonna get the resources and the opportunity and the investment in our communities. And so, it's important that we have an advocate at the table that is going to ensure that, we are being advocated for at City Hall, and that everything that we do is in the best interest of people.
Okay, next will be candidate Foster.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What do you think is the most important issue for District 4?
Thank you for that, and I will be quite candid and honest. I don't think there's just one issue that's facing District 4. I don't think there's an order of importance in regards to the issues. We can start with what happened with the flood. We had severe flooding in 2024. Our infrastructure is severely under-designed. What have we done? We went through and secured over $140 million just for this to take care of our challenges and prevent that flooding from happening again. in the Black Arts and Culture District. So when we talk about bringing investment to the district, look at my track record. Go through the city's budget. This last budget, first time, we ever went through a veto process. I was able to do consensus amongst my colleagues to do a veto override. What did that get us? That restored Parks and Rec. That restored library hours. Things that are significant to District 4. So, again, vote Henry Paulson III. Thank you.
Last is candidate day.
I believe that the pressing issue for District 4 is what you guys want. But what I've been hearing is that you guys will have representation in this area, not only from the current council member, but also from the city itself. And I've watched city council after city council meeting after city council meeting, and you can go online, and you know this, you can go online and watch these city council meetings, where people from District 4 come to that city council year after year after year after decade, saying that we don't get our fair share of services in this county. After a while, they just ignore it. They think that just happens every single year. But I'm the person who knows that that's true. Not only have I looked at how much we've been getting in this part of town, I've looked at Preston City, how much they're spending. And we definitely do not get our fair share of services in this town. So the one thing I want to make sure is that we get representation in this part of town. Thank you.
Okay, can everybody hear me without the mic? Okay, we're gonna go with that for me. I talk a lot. So, second question here, how will you ensure District 4 gets its fair share of city funding compared to other districts? Okay? And we're going to start with candidate Foster. Okay, how will you ensure District 4 gets its fair share of city funding compared to other districts?
Thank you for that. Well, I think one thing that we need to make sure we understand, as a freshman council member on the floor, I have the pleasure of serving as the budget chair, which is one of the most significant positions that you can hold amongst the council when we talk about our committees. How will I do this? I'm the only person at this table right now that has experience working on a billion-dollar budget. I have worked on the city budget over the past, going on 7 years, working with the council office as the chief of staff. So how will I do this? Taking my knowledge, my expertise, my understanding of each department, of our core services, and what we are mandated to deliver, and using that to work with my colleagues to make sure that we are continuing to get the investment that's needed. As I said, I've already brought in over $100 million in 2 years.
Next is candidate day.
So actually, when I got office a few years back, the very first thing I did a few years back when I got office is I looked at where the city spent its money. And within a few seconds, that this part of town wasn't getting part of the fair share of money. If you look at where the city's spending its money, they built the entire city. This part of town, get into it, has been here since the beginning of the city. And the reason majority of the black people and colored people live in this part of town is because of redlining. I said the majority of people who were in color live in this part of town is because of redlining in the past. It's because they didn't allow us to live in this part of town. So historically, we have lived here. And after the civil rights movement, we're allowed to move to other places in town. But since then, what has the city done for this part of town? The reason we got the civil rights movement was because of redlining, because of not getting our fair share in this part of town. How the city, who's responsible for all of us and our needs in this area, weren't giving it to us. And since then, this city has built on add-ons of city, okay? Mira Mesa, Rancho Penasquito, Rancho Coronado, that's Fort Ranch. They built the entire city up there, new schools, new parks, new community centers, and new everything for the entire rest of the city. Yet they're gonna say that we here are getting our fair share when what took us into 1996, 1999 before we got our first library.
And last candidate of Abraham.
So, one of the root cause issues in our community is systemic disinvestment. And an example of that is actually our climate equity fund. Our climate equity fund is money that goes into a fund that is specific for communities of concern, and we qualify under those communities. There was $9.4 million in this fund that they transferred into the general fund. And as he said, he is the chair of the budget committee. And that was allowed. So $9.4 million that were supposed to build climate resilience in our community was stolen from us and was allowed to do that by city council. And that happened again the following year, $6.6 million. And we'll see when this budget comes out for 2027 if they're deciding to bring it again. Those are examples of what cannot happen in our community, because climate justice is racial justice. It's also health equity. All these things work together to really improve our quality of life. If we're not breathing clean air, we're gonna have worse health outcomes. And we already are a community that has a shorter life expectancy than other parts of our city. So it is gonna take an advocate that is gonna ensure that the resources that we need to thrive come to our community, and working with other leaders like the mayor and other city council members to really ensure that we receive the resources that we need. Woo.
Okay, next question. What will you do to make and keep public facilities such as parks and libraries accessible? And we're going to start with candidate Day.
Confused about that question because
All public facilities are supposed to be open to the public and accessible to everyone. So, I think that's already involved. The problem is not allowed to hear.
no.
Speak up. How about now? I believe that our public facilities should be accessible to everyone because they're both public. Things that are managed by the city and the government are public places, and they should be open and available to all people of the public. Which includes people of color, people who are handicapped, people who are different needs of different services. We have to be able to provide our services available to everyone, and not just make exclusive to one group or another.
Next candidate Foster.
Just really quick, as we talk about things like climate equity fund,
Sir, if you walk over here, you're out of the zone.
if we talk about the climate equity fund, that fund is to supplement capital improvement fund. It is not meant to 100% fund projects. So if we talk about the importance of climate equity, that's when you hear me talk about the $146 million that we're bringing in to take care of our channels, right? When we talk about what are we going to do with our parks and libraries? I'm the council member that led the charge of the council to restore library hours, park and rec hours that were cut by the mayor. I'm in the office that got the $37 million for the Oak Park Library that we'll be breaking ground on in May. Those are the results of the work that we have been doing in the District 4 office. We're going to continue to do that work. We got $1.7 million for the restroom and we're reviving. We got another $1.6 million from Argus to take care of more improvements for reviving, to take care of historically underutilized businesses. So we're going to continue to invest, we're going to continue to do the work, and we're going to continue to make sure that we are improving District 4 and we are getting our fair share of what we're doing.
Very quickly, to continue to talk about this climate equity fund, that money is also going into redoing our parks. So when that money is taken out of that account, we don't have money to update our parks. And also, that money was put into the general fund to balance the budget. not to fund stormwater or our storm channels. It is important that when we're talking about the budget, that we look at what are our priorities? And maintaining services in our community, like libraries and rec centers, is a priority. And we can't continue to cut those services to fix the budget when we haven't looked within the budget to, make sure that we're not wasting money, identifying, money that should be, used better, or staff, not having, too many middle managers. That's what the budget, we have to evaluate that portion of the budget and how we're spending the money before we decide cutting, resources from community members.
Okay, the next question. What infrastructure projects will you prioritize for this district? And what infrastructure projects will you prioritize for this district? And we'll start with candidate Abraham.
So, talking to many residents, one of the infrastructure issues that keeps coming up are our roads. And so, that is a priority for a lot of people, to ensure that we're driving on paved roads and that our roads are safe. But more importantly, what I would do is sit down with each community and identify areas that we want to work on, to see improvements. And then from there, decide what programs and funding where we want to allocate funding to improve our infrastructure and our livelihoods. So we are worthy of having a council member who is going to hear the community and advocate for the community, so that we can have the resources that we need so that we can thrive.
Next is candidate Dane.
I want to transform Imperial Avenue into Imperial. And Imperial Avenue was one of the finest retail as well as housing streets that we have in our city. Right now, that is the corridor of this area of town. Again, you can access this area from any other part of town, but the main meat of this district, as well as this part of town, is Imperial Avenue. And I think that it's being run down, and it doesn't give us a good impression of what this community is really all about. So I want to make Imperial Avenue Imperial. At the same time, I want to get the finest schools, the finest parks, the finest libraries, the finest of all things to this part of town. Because I don't expect anything less from America's finest city. We should treat all our cities with the finest stuff, because we are America's finest city. And we should start here with district that's been getting the least of it.
Candidate Foster.
Yes, when we talk about infrastructure, streets and roads, high priority. What have we done beyond fiscal year 25-26? We've gotten almost 100 miles in our budget. So we're getting streets and roads done. We have a commitment that we just received from the transportation department. 43% of every budget will have a commitment to districts 4, 8, and 9. We represent 43% of the overall street system throughout the city of San Diego. So that commitment is on the table and is moving forward. Again, I'm going to go back to our Choice Creek and the resiliency that we need. $146 million is what we have in our coffers to get our Choice Creek designed, to get it up to speed with where it needs to be. So when we talk about infrastructure, streets and roads, we need to work on our stormwater. I'll pause there.
Okay, the next question, you brought up, answer to the first question, previous question. What vision do you have for the Imperial Avenue strip along with how would you hold businesses accountable for improvements? So what vision do you have for Imperial Avenue strip along with how do you hold business accountable for improvements? We're going to start with this candidate.
Thank you for that. And just a little bit of history, a little bit of background. The Imperial Corridor, there's an existing plan in place. It was done by our very own former council member Charles Lewis. George Stevens had a vision. So there's a plan on the books. That's what led us to creating the San Diego Black Arts and Culture District. When you talk about years of disinvestment, we had to think outside the box of how do we bring investment into District 4. And we did that with our very first step of setting up the Black Arts and Culture District. Now, where do we go from there to the Imperial Court? Let's look at the Black Chamber. I've worked to bring the Black Chamber into District 4. They just purchased the building on Euclid and Imperial, the old legal aid building. So they just purchased that, they're moving into that building. We have another, one of our community members holding a facility. And then we're gonna grow our small businesses. We're gonna bring in incubation right here in the district. And we're gonna grow, and we're gonna build an economic base, and we're gonna make that corridor what they call the gas lamp of the east. Thank you.
So, next is Kevin Abraham.
So, what has already been done on Imperial, establishing the Black Arts and Culture District, I really see that as, continuing that vision. The vision that is also in our community plan, and it really being a mecca where we can celebrate our culture and our history. It's important that we develop public and private partnerships so that we can bring businesses into our district that are also gonna invest in the people that live here. And also, making sure that these businesses are pouring into our community, creating jobs, so that we can all have opportunity here. And a place where we can celebrate and have festive activities, and where, we can all just learn about the history about our community as well. And so that is my vision, is really economic development and empowerment, and bringing in small businesses, and then holding the businesses and the buildings that are there, that are kind of deteriorating, accountable, and making sure that, but that only happens if we have an advocate and someone at the table that is gonna ensure that this vision moves forward.
So Mr. Foster's right. We do have a Imperial Avenue transformation plan, they call it. But it's been in the works for over 20 years, and they haven't even started on it. Well, they have started on it, but I don't see any of it really. How many of you think a 20-year plan is appropriate for something like that? It's not true.
Not today.
I wanted it done 20 years ago. If I'm council member, I would make sure it's get done now. When I was reviewing city council meetings, as well as videos of this town, cast, there was people at city council meeting after city council meeting saying this part of town didn't get its share services. I saw that. And in one meeting, I saw somebody asking for a grocery store in this part of town. And I checked. Back into the 70s and 80s, we didn't even have one into 1990 something when the first Market Street grocery area opened up. Not true.
Okay, next question, we're gonna stay on just the situation here. What is your specific plan to bring quality businesses and jobs into District 4, not just warehouses or low-wage retail? We're gonna start with candidate A.
Sorry, I got the question.
What is your plan to bring quality businesses and jobs into District 4, not just warehouses or low-wage retail?
Okay. I want to bring actually AI robotics jobs to the city in general. And we can have it right here in District 4 as well as the south side of the city. The reason I want to do that is because jobs raise property values, they also generate income tax, property tax, and sales tax for the city, generates revenue for the city. As opposed to residential property actually costs the city money to pay for services such as parks, policing, and fire, and all the other services that come with having revenue. So we need more commercial real estate in this city in order to generate more income for this area. I was a part of something called the California Green Technology Center up in the Bay Area. And what we did was we created this free economic zone that where we gave tax incentives as well as from state and federal government as well as the local government for companies who are green technology in that area. biggest companies in the world today. If we create an AI robotics technology center here in this area, which I know how to do, we can actually bring some of the most successful companies with the newest technologies in this company in this country here in San Diego and start making giving jobs and creating opportunity for our young people.
All our kids love cancer.
Ma'am, please. No further can understand. Next is the candidate neighbor.
Economic development is critical for our district, and that is actually one of my priorities, is developing public and private partnerships to have businesses like, let's say for an example, one complaint that's I've heard is that we don't have access to quality care. So if we were to develop a partnership with UCSD to bring a clinic here, that would create jobs for the people in this community. We would ask them that they would hire a percentage of people that are from this community. Those workers would also be unionized workers, so then we would have workers that were working in better work conditions, having a fair wage. The fair wage allows them, that helps with their living costs, expenses, so that helps reduce their expenses. If they live in the community, they can drive or walk to work, which helps reduce gas emissions and their cost of living. But anyways, sorry, running out of time. Just making sure that we're developing partnerships with businesses that are gonna not only bring economic development, jobs, resources, but also improve our quality of life.
Candidate Foster.
Well, just to be clear, we are already making progress with an urgent care. We just had a meeting with Sandy Seafood Health about 2 weeks ago. So this is something that community members, all names and names, very public. We've had Dr. Flalo that have been working on this. I'm in close contact with the folks at the Euclid Medical Center, Dr. Good and Dr. Kelly, that are providing their expertise as we put this new facility into place. So that type of work is in progress. I'm going to pivot and go directly back to grocery stores. We've had grocery stores now. If you go down to the Black Arts and Culture District, the Old Boys and Girls Club, I'll just say that. Go back up to Skyline Library, go back up by Skyline Library. That was the same. What are we doing now? Some courageous young ladies fought a lawsuit against the city. What did they get in their settlement? A grocery store, tax credits towards a grocery store. I'm working with economic development now to look at where we can locate that grocery store, to bring some grocery stores in here. So the work is in progress, the work is on point. Again, vote Henry Foster.
Okay, next question. What is one unpopular decision you are willing to make for the long-term benefit of District 4? Okay, what is one unpopular decision you are willing to make for the long-term benefit of District 4? And we're going to start with candidate neighbors.
So one of, another issue in our community is housing segregation. And typically what we see happening is when developers develop homes in other areas, there are things in the municipal code that allow them to either pay a fee where they don't have to provide an affordable aspect, or they can offset it. So what we've seen is development going in other neighborhoods, and then they offset the affordable housing in our community. And we need mixed housing, we need affordable housing, but we also need market rate. But what happens when developers do that is that those DIF fees are paid to that community, and when the affordable homes are built in our community, we don't get DIF fees. And DIF fees are what we need to address our infrastructure issues as we grow. And so, an unpopular decision would be affirmatively furthering fair housing in the city and reevaluating the municipal code, and ensuring that we are actually providing affordable options all across the entire city, not just in one area.
Next, candidate Foster.
with the job. I've had to make some, what I would call unpopular decisions. But the one thing that I do, when I have an item in front of me and as I am making my decisions, I start with what's in the best interest of this people. And as I go through that process with my team, I end with the question, what is in the best interest of this people? So we talk about housing. What do we take care of in housing? I took on an industry. I took on and rewrote the ADU bonus density program. I brought that to Omaha. I dialed that back. When we talk about making unpopular decisions, I took care of footnote 7. I took care of
Oh my goodness. Stop it.
Number 2, please show some respect. We asked you not to clap or boo. Let's please respect the process we've got going, okay?
And as we look at other decisions that I have made, I vote in favor of charging for parking at Balboa Park. You say boo. I say I much prefer to keep my libraries open here in District 4. I much prefer to make sure that we are
By yourself. By yourself.
we're yelling at screens.
Okay, and last candidate day. What is one unpopular decision you're willing to make for the long-term benefit of District 4?
So, I'm gonna agree with Mr. Foster when he says that elected officials or almost everybody, sometimes we have to make decisions that are sometimes unpopular for the benefit of the district. But I disagree with that statement that there would be things that would be unpopular for the district that would be beneficial for the district. For the people who find it unpopular, probably would be for the district. I'm here to do what this district wants and what the people in this community want. Because I feel that the city, as well as city council members, they don't listen to the people in the city. They ignore us. And so because of that, I'm gonna go out my way to listen to people in the community and do what you guys want. So if I make decisions, they would probably be popular with the people in this district, and probably not popular with people outside their district. If there's one example that I can think of is that there's some people who want higher density in terms of ADUs, up to 6 to 10 of them or something like that. And I'm against that. I don't think we need more of those in our city, but that would be again something that's popular with the people in the city, but I think we should do it right now.
Okay, next question. How will you increase affordable housing without displacing longtime residents? Okay, how will you increase affordable housing without displacing longtime residents? And we'll start with candidate Foster.
Well, I think one thing that we need to make sure we understand is that we've been working on the land use code. And what's written in the land use code is if you live in an affordable unit now, you basically have first right to go after the new units that are produced. So one is to make sure we're communicating to our residents that they have the opportunity as new units are coming online, that they should be submitting and they have first right to refusal for those units. We need to make sure that we're doing that. Number 2 is, as we talk about affordable housing and being inclusive, one thing that we need to make sure we also understand is, if we have folks that are paying in lieu fee, they have radius requirements in which they have to provide those affordable units. So we address that. The other thing that we are doing, we are constantly having conversations with the state, because housing has been deemed a crisis, and so we are looking at ways that we can go above and beyond, utilizing our procurement power from the state level to drive down the cost of actual construction, therefore impacting the cost of the house.
Candidate Dane.
So, I view housing as a huge problem in this city as well as the entire state. And I feel that there's 2 sides to the story. There's the people who don't want to build housing because they don't want more density in their area. And then there's key is we do have to build housing. When it comes to population, you can literally calculate the number of people you have in an area as well as how much you expect to grow every single year. It's not mystery. Every city around the world, the population is going to grow. And it's the city's responsibility to make sure that we have enough housing for the people in the area. Quite frankly, I don't think the city's doing that. At the same time, I want to be able to work with the residents to find appropriate places to build housing. I think that some of the ideas that they come up with in terms of the housing, such as the 6 to 10 ADUs or something like that, is outrageous. I think that we could build higher density in different areas that are further outside the city, especially to the south. But I don't agree with trying to build up high density inside residential areas.
I think it's important to first start with assessing and analyzing the current affordable programs that we have to ensure that they are actually effective. And then we need to, again, look at the municipal code and really evaluate where we can improve and create more affordable housing options. Some of those areas are what I mentioned earlier regarding the in-lieu fee that developers can pay, and also the off-siting that developers can do. Tenant protection from displacement, I think that's gonna be critical as we grow and bring businesses in and bring opportunity in. And so there are natural ways of doing that while we can preserve NOAA units that will continue to create naturally occurring affordable units in our community. And so it's gonna take a strategic plan to ensure that no one is displaced, and the people that wanna continue to live in this neighborhood can live in this neighborhood, but we are all living in a community where we can also thrive.
Okay. Next question. First, we're gonna go real quick, it's gonna be yes or no. Only answer, yes or no. Ready? Do you support repealing the new trash fee law? So, candidate Day, yes or no?
Yes.
Candidate Foster?
Yes.
Candidate Abraham?
Yes.
Awesome, okay, you all agree on that. So now the next question is, what alternative ideas do you have for trash collection? And we're gonna go back and start with candidate Day.
I would find a compromise if we can, because I know the city used to be paid for through the city, the trash, I mean. But if you get into city politics and trash pickup across the nation, we're the only city that did that, guys. So if there was a compromise, I try to meet in the middle. Say we get the city to pay for half again, the residents pay for half. At least if we do that, the residents won't be as wasteful. Before, when we had a system where the city paid for all of it, people abused it, where they literally had 5 or 6 trash cans in the city for us to try and pick it up. And so people could abuse the system where literally you could just have as much trash as you want. And possibly it would make it more efficient in terms of the cost overall for the city. If we have to go all the way back, if we could go all the way back, I would do it if we could find revenue sources to pay for it, and actually have ideas how we could do that. But if we don't have money to pay for it, then the city's just gonna continue this game of making new taxes and fees and services until we figure that out. And that's the major problem with the city, that's what we can talk about.
Candidate Foster?
Just to clarify, the city is not the only city that made the decision to charge for trash. Actually, we were one of the last cities to do it. Most cities charge for trash. Do I think we should charge for trash? Yes. Do I think we should do what we said we would do and not exceed $29? Yes. If we repeal it 100%, that means there will be another $150 million that need to come from that budget. What does that mean? That means more cuts to libraries, more cuts to parking rent, more cuts to roads, more cuts to our stormwater infrastructure. That's what that means. So yes, we need to right our wrongs. We need to take care of our structural deficit. But we need to take the trash down to $29, no more. And then we need to look and assess where we're going to make our cuts. Because of that, I guess I would say, taking those costs back down.
Candidate Abraham?
One of the big biggest issues with the trash fee is that it wasn't done transparently. And the rollout also wasn't transparent. And so it goes back to what are our priorities when it comes to our budget? Are we gonna continue to nickel and dime residents to fix a budget crisis? Or are we gonna look within our own budget, and cut expenses, identify waste, consolidate departments? And, I think that is something that we have to look at. I don't agree with continuing to find ways to charge residents to fix our budget crisis without first looking within the budget and making sure that it's a responsible budget.
Okay, next question. What is your plan for the homelessness in this area? And what is your plan for the homelessness in this area? And we'll start with candidate three.
As someone who has experienced homelessness myself, I think it's very important that we first look at the programs that we have in place, ensuring that they're efficient and assessing and analyzing those programs. And then we have to also create, work with the mayor and the city council to put a plan in place to make sure that they are getting the services that they need. And so that part of that is gathering data and really doing outreach with unhoused people and to make sure that the services that we want to provide them are indeed what we have in place, and if not, then creating services that will actually serve them. When my son was 3 years old, we were living in my car at shelters and people's homes. And one of the things that really made a difference for me was a transitional living program. I stayed there for 18 months. It was for homeless youth between the ages of 18 and 24. And I was there while I was in college. And it really saved me. And it allowed me to finish college and get my degree and not continue the cycle of poverty and create opportunity. Thank you.
Next is candidate Dane.
I believe that the majority of homeless people, that their problem is the fact that houses are too expensive, but they don't have a job. And they have been precursor to the straw that broke the camel's back, the thing that got them where they are. But I feel like after a period of time, they become lost. Lost in their way, lost in their belief, lost in their thinking. And they have no hope for themselves or for society to come around and help them. At some point, I believe that some homeless people become lost. And those people, I pray for them. I believe that God, churches around here, the community does a good job, or they try to at least provide a solution for them. But I believe that if there's one thing I can do as a council member is try to stop the cycle from happening. A lot of the homeless people in the city actually originate from this part of town. They have city council meetings where they discuss how the homeless people come from this part of town, and they feel that if we improve the environment in this area, such as the schools and the education and the library, that it will provide more economic opportunities for them so that they don't have to end up homeless and on the streets.
And last,
That's a great question. Right now, if you look at the city's budget, we typically spend about $105 million or so on homelessness services. Where are those services deployed? Basically downtown. That's where all the homeless services go. What you're seeing now is people being pushed our way. That's what you're seeing. They're using the channels and the public transportation system to find their way to our area. What are we doing? You know what? I'm not waiting on just the city office to take care of this problem. I've been approached and I've been working with churches such as St. Stephen's, such as Mosque Number 8, such as Bethel A&B. We've been having meetings, looking at what we can do to focus on helping, taking things into our control and working and building our own relationships at the shelters to make sure that we have beds and room to do things. Also, I think we need to relook at how we're spending dollars. I think we need to go back and shore up preventative efforts. I think we need to make more subsidies available for our seniors. We need to make sure folks that are housed can stay housed. We need to stop the entry into homelessness and and isolate our numbers and make sure we're keeping them balanced.
For the people that are standing, if you want to sit, there's some chairs here. Otherwise, I support your standing. Okay. Currently, the deficit, given the deficit we are currently in the city, how do you plan to protect or advocate for the vulnerable but necessary services in District 4 that impact and serve most in-need residents? Okay, one more time here. Given the deficit we are currently in the city, how do you plan to protect or advocate for the vulnerable but necessary services in District 4 that impact and serve most in-need residents? And we're going to start with Foster.
I think first off, this is where experience and understanding the district comes into play. I'm not gonna go out and have to learn the district. I'm not gonna have to go out and learn the people. And so, as we look at the budget, look at what I do every day. You can go to any meeting and see how I advocate for our community. What will I be advocating for in this budget? Again, parks and recs, libraries, streets, roads, infrastructure, housing, right? Preventative measures for homelessness. Those are the things that we will continue to look at. We want to make sure that we're looking at our policing budget. We need to do more with our policing budget. We need to make sure that we are bringing alternatives to the table. That we have our no shots fired program. That we have our drop-in centers. We need to make sure we have our peacemakers that are out there working with our youth, providing opportunities, and taking care of our own.
Next is candidate Abraham.
So I am a unit ICU nurse, and I have been advocating for vulnerable populations for my entire career, and ensuring that what we do is in the best interest of people. And I plan to continue to do that at City Hall. When it comes to the budget, I think it's important that not only that we have an advocate, but we have someone that is able to collaborate with other leaders and other departments to ensure that the services that we need in our community are equitable and that our budget is equitable. And it's gonna take someone with understanding that there is a system in place that is designed to oppress us. And we have to be able to see that system in the budget and in the priorities to be able to push back against it.
In order to fix the deficit, we have to do two things. Number one, we have to look at our spending, and number two, we have to generate new sources of income to the city. In terms of spending, if you look at the pension program that the city has been fighting over for the last 30 years, it's the biggest problem I see that the city has in terms of where the money's been going. Every single year, ever since our pension reform failed in 2021, the city went back to the pension problem that they had before that. Something that they thought they fixed in 2012 when they had the pension reform in the city. But ever since then, we haven't fixed the problem, and every year, the amount of money that we have to pay in pension goes up every single year. This year, it's expected to go up to about $650. Last year, I believe it was about $600, $500, and the year before, $350. Every single year, the pension fund, or the deficit there, or the amount of money we pay into it, we go into it, goes up. We have to cut services. And so the city has been doing this game of cutting services every single year, trying to find new taxes to pay for that pension problem. So if we want to fix the deficit, we got to fix the pension problem. The other thing we have to do is start making more money without taxes.
Okay, next. Circulate San Diego wants to open up District 4 neighborhoods to dense Senate Bill 79 development. This is a one-word answer. Do you agree or disagree? Okay. Circulate San Diego wants to open up D4 neighborhoods to dense Senate Bill 79 development. to prevent this? We've got a candidate named.
I believe local control, Senate Bill 79 is the state bill that allows them to build high density next to transit lines. And the cities and the states have been going this back and forth against, what they consider transit, right? Is it high transit, and so the cities basically don't want to follow what the states are saying for them to do. That's what SB 79 is. There's a new bill that just came out this January, SB 677, which is intended to fix the discrepancies in what we define as transit and all the other things that people are complaining about. The long story short, the state still wants us to build more housing, and therefore they're making these rules where basically anybody can just build right next to transit, not even have to ask permission from the city. Of course, the city is disagree with that, and so they've been fighting about this for I don't know how many years now. So I disagree with SB 79 because I believe in local control. I believe the people here should make the decisions for our area, not the state of California, who doesn't know who we are, who doesn't have to end up with suffering the consequences of their decisions that they won't. They have no idea what they're doing.
Density housing is one of the main issues in a lot of our communities. It's actually one of the issues that I've been advocating against, and that has led to me being here. When we grow, we also have to have infrastructure. Growth and infrastructure go hand in hand. And so what is happening in some of our neighborhoods is 40 units, apartment units being proposed to be built in backyards. And no one wants to live that way. Although we need housing, there are other ways that we can create affordable housing and not creating all this density in a community that doesn't have the infrastructure to support it. And part of doing that is affirmatively furthering fair housing. And that requires us to look at the municipal code and ensure that we are actually providing housing and affordable housing in all parts of our city, not just concentrated in one area.
I agree. And one of the things that we are already working on in regards to SB 79, because of the way that the law is written, we are looking at how that bill will be implemented. We have an opportunity to, per se, pause and bring up and look at a plan specifically for areas such as District 4. So what the goal and intent is to do what we have in our housing element now. And that is to focus, and again, I'm going to go back to the litigation act that was put in place, is to make sure that we are looking at putting affordable housing in highest resource areas. That's what we are starting to focus on. That is written in the housing element plan. So now we need to look, pull out 79 and figure out how we achieve that with the current laws and things that are already on the books. So I'm advocating and working with the planning department, take a 2-year pause to our community, focus on high resource areas, and let's put a plan in place and make sure we're building balanced communities.
Okay, staying on housing, by what means do we commit to notifying community members about plans for new housing? We'll start with candidate Abraham.
So, accountability, transparency is critical, especially in our community. Through organizing, what I learned is that most people's have gone unheard for so long that they no longer have a desire to even speak up. And so, I really hope to bring accountability, integrity, and transparency to City Hall, and ensuring that decisions that we're making are in the best interest of people, and that we are all able to thrive in our communities. And part of that is having town halls, attending planning group meetings, and also community group meetings to disseminate this information, so that everyone is aware of projects that are coming into their neighborhood, and that everyone has a voice in the decisions that are being made.
Candidate Foster.
Yes, thank you. I think one thing that we do is, and this happens even with my is any project that we are made aware of, we have one initial requirement of any developer across the board, and that's that they go out to the community. If you don't go to the community, you will not get a meeting with the council. That's been a standing rule for the past 7 years. And so every time we are informed of a project, we make sure that happens. What else do we do? If you go to community planning group meetings, community meetings, my staff is at every single meeting. Every single meeting to field questions. I have office hours every Friday, open to everyone. All you gotta do is call and make an appointment. I'm in the community constantly. The key is, we gotta work together. We gotta stay informed. Planning groups gets the information before we do so. And so we need to collaborate, we need to stay in contact, constant communication, and work together.
Well, I'm confused by this question too. Currently, the law states that if there's any new time development in an area, that you have to notify the people within 1,000 feet of that area. And I, you say that's not enough or something, I don't get it.
Or it's not happening.
It's not happening. Well, if that's not happening, then we definitely sue the city for not doing it and get paid. But if it's happening, we're not happening as city council members, the city better do it. Because I frankly, I think it's a lot. Sometimes you gotta sue people because if you don't do it, they don't follow the law, even the government. And so I have no problem with suing the government myself, but I have to do it. Even if I'm an elected official or even a regular person, I can sue them. I don't need the city council members to do that. But they should be following the law. And if they have to notify people within 1,000 feet, they have to do it. And if they're not getting notifications, then you gotta show me a little evidence, and if you can show me the evidence, then I can sue them and help you with that case. But no council or no decision in the city should go without that.
Okay, next question is on this one. I will read the introductory phrase, because this particular constituent was born and raised in District 4. They write, it seems we have been underrepresented at the community level. What do you plan to do differently? And we're going to start with the candidate Foster.
Repeat the question again? Or
It seems that we have been underrepresented at the community level. What do you plan to do different?
I don't think when we talk about community collaboration, that there's necessarily something different that again, look at the things that we do.
Wow.
We go to every planning meeting, no matter if we only have one community on that planning, my staff and my team. I go to every auxiliary meeting. We have representatives there at every single meeting. So we are going to continue to be out there. We are going to continue to have the conversations. We are going to continue to make ourselves available and accessible. But again, I'm going to go back to collaboration. We're here. We're pushing. We're advocating. You go to City Hall, no one down here will tell you that I'm not advocating. Guarantee that.
Candidate James.
So I've worked for elected officials, I've been in their office, I see how they operate. Community member comes in and asks them for problems or concern that they have, talking about their concerns. They give them 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes maximum, they have to go. But a developer, a lobbyist, or a special interest group, you give them tens of thousands of dollars for their election, you can sit there and talk to them all day. Some people up here are taking that money. And so what happens is, if you, the community, want to go talk to them, they won't listen to you. Go listen to their people. I've taken no money from special interest groups, and I don't ever plan to. I'm here to represent the community and your needs, not those people. So I'm here to back you up, and any problems, concerns you have.
Through the activism that our community has done, and I can tell you firsthand that we have been ignored and we have been district also feel that. And so it's very important, and that is why I'm here. I am here because of the issues that happened in our community, and we could not get our voices heard. I would not be running if we had a council member in a council office that advocated for us. And so it's important that we hold our elected officials accountable and that they are transparent. Examples of our community not being heard is footnote 7. We brought this issue to the council way before it was ever addressed, even the bonus ADU issue. And so having accountability to the people who have elected us is critical. We are only indebted to the people, and our job is to represent the people.
All right, we have 3 more questions, so hang in there, okay?
Great.
This next question, how do you handle disagreements with constituents? And what are your plans to work with colleagues with differing opinions? So how do you handle disagreements with constituents? And what are your plans to work with colleagues with differing opinions? And we're going to start with candidate Day.
Constituents, I have this sin, I guess you can call it, where I want to help them to the end. And that's probably what I'm going to do with you guys. Some elected officials are going to play this game, well, we don't have money, or this and that. The first excuse they can come up with is the first thing that comes out of their mouth so that they don't have to deal with your problem. But I know, as an elected official, or I don't know, elected, but as a person who works in politics and community, that if there's a will, there's a way. These guys could have done it if they really wanted to. So as an elected official, I will do whatever I can within my power to help you with your issue all the way to the end.
Candidate Foster.
Again, I'm going to do what we have been doing, and that's to keep our door open. My door is always open. I understand community's frustration if we talk about housing, if we talk about trash, if we talk about tax measures. I understand. I understand. But the one thing that we cannot do is shut our door. And we can't shut our door both ways. We must communicate. We must continue to push forward. The one thing that I learned at City Hall is you're going to get more no's than yeses. And it's about how you deal with those no's. It's about how you deal with those no's. You go back and look, when you talk about collaboration, look at my endorsements. Look who is endorsing me. Secretary of State Sheriff Weber.
Yes.
Monica Montgomery Stepp, supervisor for the county of San Diego. We have Dr. Lachey Sharpine, assembly member for the 79th. We have Dr. Akilah Webb, senator. Right? So when we talk about collaboration, go and look at the endorsement.
As human beings, it's vital that we are heard, and it's important to all of us that we are heard. And you are all worthy of being heard.
Thank you.
Part of that is being accessible to the people that have elected, the people that you have elected to represent you. And when it comes to collaborating with colleagues, as a nurse, I am required to collaborate with the disciplinary team to ensure that we're providing safe care and quality care. And we can have disagreements, but at the end of the day, we have to ensure that we're doing what is in the best interest of people. And if we keep the people at the center of the decisions that we are making, then we can agree more than we can disagree. And so it's gonna take someone that can simply work with other departments and colleagues to ensure that we are advocating for and that we are getting the services that we need to thrive.
Okay. If elected, what plan do you have to repair the damage and distrust that the current city council has with the people of San Diego? If elected, what plan do you have to repair the damage and mistrust that the current city council has with the people of San Diego? Candidate Gabriel.
I have been to many city council meetings yelling and screaming, and what I've learned is that if all you do is stand outside and yell and scream, then all you will ever be is a yeller and a screamer. If we want change, we have to get on the inside. And that the change only happens on the inside. And so it's critical for us as a community to elect representatives that are gonna advocate our voice, represent our voice, not just in our district, but across the entire city. So I plan on being that voice for the city of San Diego and for the people of this district primarily.
So this city and the city council has a serious problem when it comes to trust as well as dysfunction when it comes to city council. The people in the city are not being heard, not at any level, okay? Whether it's the residents of the people in city council meetings, they don't hear or they don't listen to anyone. Because of that, it's generated tons of mistrust as well as anger, resentment towards the city council and the city itself. If there's one thing I can do to help fix that as a council member is I would listen to you guys. Well, quite frankly, I believe a lot of the yelling and shouting and anger and resentment towards each other is because they're not listening to them. That's why they speak out of turn. That's why they speak up at meetings out of turn again. And that's why they yell and scream. And they come again and again and again, every meeting, saying the same thing. Because you didn't listen to them. If all you did was acknowledge them, listen to them, try to appease their concerns, they wouldn't keep doing that. But the city doesn't do that. I'm gonna do that. I think that might work. I'm not
I think, one of the things that we do have in public trust issue. How do we repair that trust? I think it comes down to two things. Transparency, number one, being transparent, and accountability. There was an item today that we heard, the salary ordinance. And there were some significant things that were wrong with that ordinance as it was presented. City staff made a change. 30 minutes prior to that meeting, we received a stack of documents about an inch thick. The expectation was that we would go through those documents on the dais and take a position. I disagree. I was the only dissension for that vote. Not only did the council not have it, but the public did not have it. And we need to stop moving things, passing things, trying to be politically expedient and ignoring the public. If it takes an extra week to leave something, then we need to leave it posted for an extra week before we die. So that we can have the conversations that we need.
Okay, last question. What would you like to change about the way District 4 is governed? And what would you like to change about the way District 4 is governed? And we're going to start with candidate Foster.
I'd like to have more people. Right now, we're being asked to cut $80,000 from our budget. That's a lot. What does that mean? That means who's going to feel that? Our district. So if I can change something, it would be having more resources so that we can spend more time out in the community, informing, educating, being transparent. That's what I would change at the city.
Candidate Abraham.
Joke.
What I would like to see different in our community is all of us having a voice at City Hall. A lot of our issues have stemmed from not having an advocate, someone that is working in the best interest of the people that they were elected by. And so, that is my mission, that is part of my goal, to really ensure that everyone's voice is heard and that everyone is represented when it comes to making decisions at City Hall.
Candidate Day.
My question, kind of today, is the open though for what I wanted to look at for the government for this area. As a councilman, I would open up everything to the people in the community, to the town council that are representing the people in that area. I would watch it, everything goes to town council. because of that, if there's anything I want to do with respect to government in this area, is I want to improve those local communities so that you guys can talk to each other and help resolve the issues that you have in the community. And through me as a council member, I hope to be able to use my position as council member to help leverage what you guys are trying to do in this area. With respect to the city, I believe we have a lot of problems with how our government is in the city. One of the problems, I believe, is the fact that we have a strong form of government, something that is somewhat recent in our history, and at the same time, it's not common at all for any major city of this size to have such a form of government. Strong form of government means that the strong mayor is very strong and pretty much do anything he wants. And so, it takes the voice away from the people.
Before our candidates give their closing remarks, I want to thank you for being an attentive audience, very engaged, and so these are probably some of the best questions that I've had.
What happened to our questions, though? Some of you asked the same question 5 times, but then people were there early because they've been harmed by some people up there. They didn't get their questions asked.
I had people that were reviewing all the questions, so we tried to do the
Listen,
best.
one question get asked 5 different ways, leaving us in disenfranchised. We'll try again next time, hopefully. We love to leave, we're not problem to leave. But Martha, people want to ask you some questions. We got 15-year-olds to talk to you. Thank you.
You know where I live, and you have my phone number.
Afterwards, if the candidates are willing to stay, you guys can come up and talk with them. It's their choice. Okay? I want to make sure that you all knew that if you want information about what the league does or voter information, you can card or email. Okay, now we're going to have a closing statement.
It's not right.
We're going to have closing statements. There are 2 minutes, and we're going in reverse order of what the opening statements are. So we're going to first start with the candidate officer, 2 minutes.
We have more questions. A whole bunch more questions. This is bull. This is bull. This is about bull.
Just, thank you again for everyone coming out, spending this time.
Hell is this,
Hopefully,
man?
you got to hear a little bit about all of the candidates here tonight. But this comes down to experience. This is not a job that you want someone to come in and have to go through training. We don't have time for training. We need action, and we need action now. It happens there today. Again, right now we are about